2,000 years ago, one city ruled the world. A city of a marble temple. For a brief moment in history, it was the greatest city on earth. Imagine standing in Rome in 100 AD, the heart of an empire, aqueducts and the roaring Colosseum. This was the greatest city on earth. How did an ancient city become the largest and most powerful city on earth? There were no cars, no electricity, no skyscrapers, and yet more than 1 million people lived here. But here's the strange part. If you traveled back to Rome in the year 100 AD, you probably wouldn't recognize it. And today, through AI Reconstruction, historians can finally bring the ancient world back to life. And what they reveal about Rome in 100 AD might completely change how you imagine the ancient world. Because this wasn't just a city, it was the heart of an empire. An empire stretching from Britain to Egypt to the deserts of the Middle East. And everything led back to one place, Rome. It is early morning in Rome. And the sun begins to rise over the rooftops. And the city is already awake. Thousands of people move through narrow streets lined with tall apartment buildings called insulae. These buildings could reach 6 or 7 stories high. Some were packed with dozens of families living in tiny rooms. Let's step outside, and suddenly Rome feels enormous. Massive stone roads stretch across the city. Merchants open their shops. Street vendors sell bread, olives, and wine.
Fresh bread, olives, and fine wine. Get them here.
And above the noise of the streets, you can hear the distant roar of a cow. Because today, there are games at the Colosseum. Completed only 20 years earlier under Emperor Titus, the Colosseum was the largest amphitheater ever built. More than 50,000 spectators could sit inside. Imagine the excitement. Crowds pouring into the massive entrances. Gladiators preparing in underground chains. The smell of animals from across the empire. Lions from Africa. Bears from Europe. And when the games began, the roar of the crowd could be heard across the city. And when the games began, the roar of the crowd could be heard across the city. But the Colosseum was only one part of Rome's incredible architecture. Just a short walk away stood something equally impressive, the Roman Forum. This was the political, religious, and economic center of the empire. Temples towered above marble plazas. Statues of emperors and gods lined the streets. And senators in white togas debated the future of the empire.
The empire must beat us our destiny.
Perhaps the most extraordinary thing about Rome was something most people never even noticed. Water. They filled fountains, baths, and public water systems. The city was supplied by massive aqueducts. But the poor lived in crowded insulae that were often dangerous. These stone structures carried fresh water from mountains dozens of miles away. By the year 100 AD, 11 aqueducts fed the city. which meant that even ordinary citizens had access to running water. Something many cities wouldn't achieve again for nearly 2,000 years. In the year 100 AD, Rome stood at the absolute height of its power. The rich lived in luxurious villas filled with mosaics, gardens, and private baths. Yet people continued to pour into the city from every corner of the empire. For a brief moment in history, it was the greatest city on earth. Every echo from the past carries a lesson for the future. If you enjoyed this story, tell us in the comments what story you'd like to hear next. Discover the secrets of a lost world. This is Ancient Echoes.